Good evening and welcome. This is Tonight with Tim Modise. In the show, we discuss single parenting, especially absent fathers, the activities to celebrate Mandela Day, and opportunities to generate extra income. Welcome. Research shows that more than 60% of children in the black community are raised by their mothers without the involvement or support of their biological fathers. There are a variety of reasons for this situation, but the concern is about the impact this state of affairs has on children, and it has a negative impact that it manifests in a child's education, morale, and self-concept. South Africa is reported to have one of the highest rates of absent fathers in sub-Saharan Africa. And to discuss the state of South Africa's fathers, I'm joined by Wessel van den Berg, Child Rights and Positive Parenting Manager at Sonke Gender, as well as journalist and founder of Young Men Movement, Kabelo, Chabalala. And gentlemen, pleasure to have you with us on the show.
Thank you.
Well, the report that I have was co-produced and co-researched Sonke Gender, Justice and Human Sciences Research Council, State of South Africa's Fathers. Wessel, I want to start with you. What is the point of this research and study?
So, Tim, we find ourselves at a unique moment in the history of our country, where the labour law is about to be amended to have leave available for fathers in the first few years of the child's life to take care of new babies. This is new, so we expect these to be the amendments to be signed off this year in 2018, and the report offers us an opportunity to track how fathers take this leave or not. You would hear people say, fathers are not ready for parental leave, they will go fishing.
Yes.
But the question that we want to ask is, what is really happening? If a father has the opportunity, will he care for the child or not?
Okay, that is from the labor law point of view. But talking about the real state of affairs in the country, what is the situation there? Because I'm going with the Stats SA statistics here, which suggest that there's a substantial number of biological fathers who are not at all involved in their children's lives. Do we know what the numbers are? The 60% that I mentioned there comes from Stats SA.
Yes. So there's a really important point that you said there, Tim. You said that they are not involved. The statistics talk about living in the same household or not.
Yeah.
They don't talk about involvement. A father who lives in the same household may not be involved. And what we know from our time use surveys is that they actually are unlikely to be involved. At the same time, we have non-resident fathers, you were talking about migrant labor earlier, who are very involved.
Yes.
So it's quite dangerous to
just lump everybody
together the involvement with the co-residents. So what we do have is the numbers of children living with their biological fathers. That has been going down. The latest numbers we have is it's just about 36% of children live with their biological father. But what's missing, Tim, is looking at who are the other men that could play a mentorship or a caring role to those children. What we do know from the same set of household surveys is that about a third of children, so another 30% of children, live with an adult man in the same household who is not their biological father. So that could be a grandfather, a brother, or an uncle, or the mother's new partner. Unfortunately, it's quite a high risk that those men could perpetrate violence. But at the same time, we want to ask the question, how do we maximize their ability to care?
Sure, and we'll deal with that in a moment. And Kabelo, from where you're sitting, as I said, I was going predominantly with the Stats SA, and of course, this is very helpful that we have a study of this nature. The fact of absent fathers, whether being non-resident or being completely out of the lives of their children, what is your view of that and your understanding of this phenomenon?
Look, Tim, I grew up in a village where present fathers are something that comes like Christmas. You hardly see them. And I'm also one of the young boys that was raised by a single mother. I mentor 80 boys, of which 8 out of 10 of them, their dads are absent. So it's one of the closest discussion to my heart. But what I do know is that there are historic things that happened that are actually pushing what is happening, that we find ourselves in this state because of things that are somehow maybe beyond our control. But one of the biggest projects or one of the biggest assignments for the Young Men Movement is to ensure that we create a new generation of men and of fathers. So we have tasked ourselves to ensure that these young men, whether they grew up with or without their fathers, we teach them to be a bit more responsible, because there's no need for them to be leaving Limpopo or Mametlake or Pankop to go work in Joburg. And even if that's the case, they can move their families with, or they can actually travel between the two places to ensure that they are present and active fathers. So I think it's a set state of affairs. However, it shouldn't be the reason why Kabelo, who's without a father, is going to grow to be a man who's abusive or who leaves his children. I think from that we should learn to say, this happened to me, but how do I change to ensure that I don't suffer from the very same fate that I suffered with my kids are going to live a different life to mine.
Well, which makes me then think that, are we suggesting, what we know anyway, from anecdotal, we don't even need research to make observations, that the impact on the families and the communities and the development of children is negative. The fact that fathers are not involved in their children's upbringing. Is that correct?
Absolutely, Tim. You know, and one of the ways that we have unfortunately spoken about fathers' involvement is this term of at ATM fathers.
Yeah.
Or a father is only ubushle bendoda zinkomo. A father is only as valuable as the money that he can provide. The problem with that is that it reduces a father's role to the financial role only. But what Professor Robert Morrell and others have pointed out for us in this report is that that's really important. Children need money to survive. So we don't want to cancel that. What we want to do is we want to add on to that. So the impact is, of course, on mothers and on children. If a father is not involved, it's one less breadwinner, it's one less caretaker. And that has really devastating consequences for families.
Now, Kabelo, you should tell me, I mean, the importance of a father's involvement in the raising of a child. What form do you think is the best form? Because as Wessel has said, somebody might feel, as long as I'm paying maintenance or child support, or I give the mother money, or I visit once in a while, then that's about it. I don't have to live with the child. But it looks like it's much more than that.
It is. It's definitely more than that. Because, I mean, I have friends who grew up with their fathers. They wish they could, have a shoulder to cry on. But you're raised in a village or in a place where you're told that, so you find yourself that you have to not show some emotions, not express whatever that you're feeling because you're not taught to do that. So I think we need more progressive fathers within our society who will understand that they need to talk about issues, who will be there emotionally and who will equally provide, because provision, money is important. To go to school, you need the money. To have clothes, you need the money. However, we can't just limit it to that. They need to realize that their absence emotionally is one of the things that make us become so broken as young men. I grew up with my mom. I love my mom. She's been enough. However, I can never find ways to, close that void that my father left or his absence left me with. And I think that is another critical point. They need to realize that they can't just be ATM. They need to realize that they can't be dads who give presents, but we need their presence in our lives. They need to ask us how we're doing. You're 18, you're 20, you're 25, what are your plans? So I think the involvement has to go beyond just providing money.
Now, the state of South Africa's fathers, there's a report. What are the recommendations? What do we do? Because we more or less have a sense, it's not a complete sense of the challenges that are there. And it's not because the fathers themselves are bad people necessarily. There could be other factors that make it difficult for them to be present in their children's lives. So what do we do as a society?
So the problem is often seen only as an individual problem, but it's a structural problem, and we need the state to contribute. Provide state-funded childcare. You still do not get free early childhood development in South Africa. What we really found as an interesting case study from the report was from the University of Johannesburg, the men who access the child support grant, and by the way, the child support grant can be accessed by fathers too, use the money the same way mothers would. They don't spend it on alcohol or tobacco. So there are two things that we can promote: fathers accessing the child support grant and the ECD framework to be implemented. So as Sonke and the HSRC, we really want to balance the spectrum away from the individual to hold the state accountable.
And Kabelo, I mean, speaking from first-hand experience that you've referred to earlier on and the observations, interactions you've had, what do we do or can do as community and society?
Let's go back and encourage men to actually play an active role in their children's lives. And equally, let's also realize that what we went through as a country during apartheid is something that we need to reconstruct. Let's reconstruct how men are socialized. Let us make them realize that all the responsibilities of raising a child are not only a woman's responsibility, but they too have a role to play. And in that, create a space where they too can have a voice, where they too can play a role in ensuring that they become active, present dads in their kids' lives.
And thanks very much. Wessel van Berg from Child Rights and Positive Parenting, manager there with Sonke Gender, as well as journalist and founder of the Young Men Movement, Kabelo Chabalala. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And in a short while, we will be discussing the Nelson Mandela Day activities.